All right, let's dive into something that's, well, becoming absolutely critical for every leader, business, and citizen in Canada. We're talking about reconciliation action plans. And believe me, this isn't just about dry policy. This is really about our shared future.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if one single plan could advance human rights and unlock billions of dollars for the economy? It kind of sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? But that is precisely the powerful, two-sided promise behind what we're discussing. It completely reframes the entire conversation, not just as a responsibility, but as a massive opportunity.
So, what exactly is a Reconciliation Action Plan, or a RAP as they're often called? Well, at its core, it's a formal game plan. And the two key phrases here are living document and actionable steps. This isn't some report that gets written and then sits on a shelf collecting dust. No way. It's a dynamic, ongoing commitment designed to turn good intentions into real-world results.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. Why are these plans so incredibly important right now? Well, it really boils down to two core drivers that are completely connected. What you could call a dual imperative.
First off, you have the moral and, frankly, the legal foundation. You see, RAPs are a direct response to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's Call to Action number 92, which specifically calls on the corporate sector to get involved. This means adopting big frameworks like the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and it means truly embracing the principle of free, prior, and informed consent, or FPIC. At the end of the day, this is all about meaningful consultation to start rebuilding trust that's been broken over a long, long time.
But beyond that essential foundation, the numbers themselves tell an equally powerful story, and it's a staggering one. So let's pivot and look at the economic case for taking action.
Okay, just check out the speed of this growth. The Indigenous economy's contribution to Canada's GDP surged to $97 billion in 2020. Now, to put that in perspective, that's up from just over $41 billion only 8 years earlier. We are talking about a major economic force right now.
But here's the other side of that economic coin, the cost of doing nothing. All of those systemic barriers, the gaps in employment, they add up. How much? An estimated $36 billion is lost from Canada's GDP every single year. This isn't just a loss for Indigenous communities. It's a drag on the entire national economy.
So what's the upside? What's the potential here? Well, the Indigenomics Institute has put a goal out there that's both bold and, totally achievable. A $100 billion Indigenous economy. That number, that huge number, it shows you the true scale of the opportunity in front of us. It's one of the biggest keys to Canada's future prosperity.
Okay, so the why is pretty clear. It's both the right thing to do and the smart thing to do. But how do we make sure these plans are actually meaningful? The first step is learning how to tell the difference between real action and just, empty words.
You can think of this as your practical toolkit, your BS detector, really. A genuine RAP is co-created with Indigenous peoples, not just done for them. That's a huge difference. It has a real budget, clear timelines, and goals you can actually measure. A performative plan, on the other hand, it's all vague promises, no real resources, and it feels a lot more like a one-off marketing campaign. The number one thing that separates them? Accountability. Plain and simple.
All right, so how does a company or an organization actually build one of these genuine plans? It can feel like a pretty big mountain to climb, but there is a clear path forward. So let's walk through a roadmap for action.
It all starts with learning, with really understanding those foundational documents. But honestly, the most critical step is number 2, co-creation. It means engaging with Indigenous partners right from the very beginning. From there, you can figure out your priorities, set those all-important measurable goals, and then bake the plan right into your daily operations. And finally, you have to report on your progress publicly. That's what builds trust and keeps things moving.
And this quote, which KPMG highlights in its own work, it just says it all, doesn't it? What gets measured gets done. Without clear metrics, without public reporting, even the best intentions can just fizzle out. Measurement is what turns a promise into an actual plan.
And hey, this isn't just theoretical. Leaders out there in the corporate world are already doing it.
RBC's deep consultation with over 400 communities, I mean, that's a masterclass in co-creation. You've got TELUS, a pioneer in the tech space, embedding Indigenous perspectives into really future-focused stuff like AI ethics. And companies like KPMG and CN are showing that real accountability and economic partnership have to be at the center of it all.
So what's next? Where is this all heading? Well, the next frontier seems to involve technology, where something like artificial intelligence is set to play a really fascinating and probably pivotal role. Take a look at this data on AI adoption. It's almost perfectly split into thirds. About a third of First Nations band councils are already using AI, another third are exploring it, and a third haven't adopted it yet. This snapshot shows us there's a huge opportunity, but also a pretty serious warning. We have to avoid creating a new kind of digital colonialism if Indigenous communities get left out of the AI revolution.
So, to get ahead of that risk, we're seeing these amazing, proactive, Indigenous-led solutions pop up. The First Nations Technology Council isn't waiting around to be included. They are building their own culturally relevant AI toolkit. The goal is to train thousands of people, making sure that communities can use this powerful technology on their own terms for everything from economic development to preserving culture.
So when you boil it all down, a reconciliation action plan is so much more than a document. It's a strategic bridge, one that connects the moral imperative with the economic one. It's a roadmap that takes us from good intentions to actual impact, from a simple promise to real progress. And that leaves all of us, as individuals, as employees, as leaders, with one final question. Reconciliation is a plan, not just a promise. So what's your plan?